set, I'm Lori Horvath. I lead the JLL Hotels and Hospitality Project Development Services Group for the central region of the U.S. Jones Lang LaSalle has a long partnership with NuovoRE. We've worked with them on our investment sales and advisory services side of the business, and we serve as their project team for their development portfolio. Today I joke, I said I'm extending those services to pinch hitting for this presentation, so fingers crossed for me. Well, I'll do a little overview of Nuovo in a minute, just kind of a quick snapshot of what the project that we're working on is all about, and then we'll dive into detail on both. So the images you'll see of the presentation, we've been working on this since June of 2016, so it's been a labor of love. The architecture team that is working on this is PWWG Architecture out of Pittsburgh. Bill Rooney Studio in New York is the designer for the guest room spaces, and Huft for the public areas that you'll get a glimpse of. KPFF is our structural engineering team. IMEG is our MEP and acoustical engineering team. Russell HBD is the contractor. So without those people, we would not have a project to talk about. One of the things about this building that you'll see a little bit about is that when Nuovo looks for a new building and looks for a new real estate investment opportunity, they seek out historic buildings. And one of the things that's important to them, and what was important about this particular building, is they wanted to celebrate the beauty of the building. And then when we turn it into a hotel, there's a little bit of a reverence that you'll see in the design. So it's 180,000 square feet. It's 173 guest rooms to include suites and the presidential suite. It'll be a 4-star boutique lifestyle hotel, and we will open it in March of 2023. So, which is getting here sooner rather than later for those of you that are, at this stage of the game and opening a hotel, So the sleepless nights will begin soon. We'll talk a little bit about where we started. We'll talk through ownership's investment in the community and some of the most challenging portions of the project. We'll have a few images to put up on the screen, and then you'll see how we've paid homage to the historic interiors of the building and how we're integrating art into this presentation. So back to what Nuovo is all about, and one of the things that I love so much about them is their passion for what they're doing, and JLL is really proud to just be in lockstep with them as they go through these processes. When they look at developments and they look at real estate to invest in, they go to second and third tier cities. They're looking to find one-of-a-kind investments that are really going to be permanently impactful from a social and community perspective. They're purposeful. They're typically emerging locations. They don't need to build a hotel in Chicago. They don't need to develop in New York. They want to be in St. Louis. They want to be in Cincinnati and Cleveland. And they're usually up and coming neighborhoods. What they're going to do is truly a catalyst for those neighborhoods that might get them where they need to be and make them an exciting destination again. And when they do these things, they're all long-term holds. For this developer. And they want to prove out an ROI with the community impact in whatever city they decide to be in. It's a collaborative, ongoing process, not only with their design team, but with the neighborhood that they're in, the consultants that they're working with, and it's really fun to see this process. It's going to be great to see that ROI proven out, because the impact hospitality has on the world, is we all know, is greater than we think about. This is your Nuovo team. Heather's in the back row. This image is from an impact retreat that they just had, and they hosted about 120 people out in Denver and brought brands that they're working with together, the operators, some of the consultant teams, just to really talk about how they want to change hospitality. It was a collaborative couple of days, and everyone had a lot of fun doing that. So, in the spirit of them being here with us, there they all are. So. This map illustrates for you some of the projects that they're currently working on. And as Heather and Mike Everett said to me, they don't typically choose that everything is on the same latitude when they pick the cities they're in. It's just kind of happened that way. So I'll walk you across that, and then we'll get back to St. Louis and its development. Merced, California, it's the gateway to Yosemite. It's a very cool little town, kind of in the middle of nowhere when you're driving there on a weekly basis, or you're flying in. But they're redeveloping Main Street, and they have an apartment building, a historic theater that's been refurbished, and then the El Capitan Hotel, which is also a historic adaptive reuse project. They've been working there for a few years, and that really continues in that community and goes back to the community impact that they're achieving. Right now, we're building out a test kitchen and educational space. So not only are they going to bake the breads and the pastries and the pastas and supply that to the hotel and theater, they're training people in the community that want to get out into the food and beverage industry and giving people opportunities outside of Merced if they want to go somewhere else. So it's really a pretty cool thing to be a part of. Other cities that they're in, we're in Cleveland right now. In Cincinnati, we're taking the historic Procter & Gamble headquarters right down in Main Street, and we're turning that into a luxury boutique hotel. They have a hotel open in Baltimore, Maryland, the Revival Hotel, looking in Indianapolis, and then also again in St. Louis. So. With that, we'll kind of dive into St. Louis and talk in detail about that, how Nuovo started in St. Louis, what drew them to it. And truly it was, St. Louis is an emerging city. A lot of people overlook it. This particular area in downtown is their downtown west area. It's a neighborhood that is on the cusp of being trendy. It was a little bit questionable, but the YMCA was its anchor. It was a historic building that's on the National Registry. It has a sense of place for the community. People love to go there. It was built in 1926, and it was a prototype for future YMCAs at that time. It was a 10-story building. It has a lobby, it has rec rooms, it has a billiards room, an athletic facility, a swimming pool, sleeping rooms, which, programmatically all sounds a little familiar to all of us for YMCA. So it just fit the bill, and it provided all these services way back then. It housed a college, and it's been functioning that way since it opened in 1926, and then it closed in 2016. The Y wanted to downsize and move to a different area of town, and so that's when the opportunity became available. And with that, now we hear everybody saying, that was my why. That's where I learned to swim when I was 4 years old. Is it going to open? When can I see the pool again? So, it's starting to generate that kind of excitement, which is really fun for Nuovo and for the entire design team. So, with that, everybody kind of dove into the project, and we were ready to go. As soon as they closed, let's start design. But we've had to be very patient, not only with delays that we've had with the historic tax credit process in Missouri, but the pandemic and all of those things were the perfect storm. But at the end of the day, we will have a perfect property for everyone to see. So with pursuing historic hotels, and many of you may know this if you've done that, but there's the federal tax credits are available and state tax credits are available. So you can get, with your federal tax credit, up to 20% of your costs back and can be credited with qualified rehabilitation expenses in historic properties, which is a huge amount of money when you think of your overall investment. On top of that, the state of Missouri gives you up to 25% of a state tax credit. So that's you combine the state and the federal, and we're going to get back about $29.7 million in tax credits for this project. So it's a huge deal, it's a huge impact, and really, really worth waiting for. So this picture, some of the details, right? So during the delay and during that time that we were waiting and putting all of our paperwork together, et cetera, we got to know the building. We were allowed to do all the demolition. We massaged our design, we made some discoveries, some great, some not so great. This image is of a late 1800s foundation of a house that the sub-basement of the YMCA was built over. And that would have been fine until we started doing our micropile work, and then it was an obstruction, and we had to take that into consideration, demo all of that out. We had clay tile walls that really meant nothing. We had to take them down. They didn't have any structural competency to them at all. We discovered old Camel cigarette packets. I don't know if you can see that, but I had to add that to the slide because they were just shoved into the walls for no reason. So c'est la vie. But historic buildings in the process of renovating them, it's really, really fun. It gets in your blood, you love it. You have to have a team that understands that and knows how to react to it creatively and effectively, and we really have done that. When I work on these projects, because they're truly my favorite to see what you can discover, right? And hear what the building has to tell you. Rick Werber told me years ago, he's somewhere in the audience, I'm not sure where. He said, when you've seen one hotel, you've seen one hotel. And it is so true. And no truer words were ever spoken than when you are diving into turning a historic building into something new. So. This is our new front door. So some of the programming that I listed out earlier, it kind of describes for you that not only is this building perfectly suited for the program of a hotel, but it's also suited for a museum. So given its location, the neighborhood, what we've talked about from Nuovo's mission in truly wanting to make an impact, they wanted to come into this community and give a museum back to the neighborhood. So they reached out to 21C Museum Hotels, and they brought them on board to brand the property and also to operate the hotel. So we've been working hand in hand with 21C from the beginning of the project, and now with Accor, as Accor acquired 21C in 2019. And this YMCA will now house an art museum in all of its public areas. It will have permanent exhibitions as well as rotating exhibits. There's a coffee cafe workspace, workout spaces, a specialty restaurant and bar, an art park that will be adjacent to the hotel, which is going to be really cool. I don't know if you've seen the one in Louisville, but they have a huge bright yellow statue of David in the middle of the park outside the hotel. So we're not sure what that will be yet in our art park, but you'll have to come and check it out and see. It's really going to make a big difference. People can peer through the gates now and just start to wonder. So, and a little background on 21C. So it was founded in 2006. Steve Wilson and his wife Laura Lee Brown wanted to save a historic building in downtown Louisville. So they acquired the building, and then they too wanted to display their private contemporary art collection to the public free of charge, 24/7. 365 days a year. So where else can you do that than in a hotel? So it's a brilliant idea, and it really became the foundation for 21C and the future 21C hotels. So we've got 9 of them that are open across the country right now, and St. Louis will be number 10. Here's to just stress the contemporary art and the controversy that 21C likes to stir up. They always have art that are reflecting issues of today. Like it or not, you're adverse to it, you're excited about it. These exhibitions are themed around identity. They're themed around race, war, gun control, politics, all of that, but seen through the lens of art. So, you know, whether guests are staying in the hotel and enjoying the art, or locals come in to check out a new exhibit and then they stay for lunch or dinner and have a cocktail or 3 or 4, it's a good thing for the property. And everyone's welcome all the time. So it's pretty incredible. And again, you know, it's tying back to revitalizing a neighborhood, to bringing people into a new space and getting people to interact. It's pretty cool. So we'll give you a glimpse of the hotel and get through that, and tell you a little bit of stories about the art and about bringing art into a hotel. It's definitely the fun part of incorporating the art program into a construction project. I mean, when you sit down and you tell the general construction team that you're going to bring an 8-foot diameter, 8-ton orb into a hotel and set it in the middle of the lobby. 3 months before we open, or 4 months before we open, and then they have to protect it and work around it. You get all sorts of expressions and reactions. Not to mention, I kind of laugh, our structural engineer, we mentioned this to him, and we wanted to talk to him about the viability of doing it. And I'm guessing that most people in the audience have either seen Top Gun Maverick or they've seen the original Top Gun. And if you remember in the movie when Goose is sitting behind Maverick in the jet and he says, "You're gonna do what?" That's what we got from our structural engineer. But he figured it out and we're ready to go. So 21C's art curator and the artist and JLL worked with JLL's project management team in Chicago, because we're doing a renovation of the Shed Aquarium right now. And we worked with those specialty consultants to figure out how to actually construct this orb and transport it, and then we're going to roll it into the building in about 3 weeks, because we need to get it in before we can brick up and add the new windows to that side of the building, because it's the only opening that's big enough to get it in. So that's all going to be happening very, very soon. And then once it's safely in place, hopefully we'll all just kind of feel that much better. And we kind of joke that these guys, we're going to have them kind of surrounding the orb and protecting it. I don't know how good that's going to do, but we like the idea. 21C has a flock of penguins as their brand, and each property will have its own color. So we won't know our color until opening day, but in the interim, hopefully they'll be able to help us. They get placed around the hotel. I don't know if anyone has stayed at a 21C, but they move them around. And I was in a hotel one night and literally walked in my room and the penguin was standing in the bathroom looking at me, which is a little unsettling, but funny. So you can engage with them, you can exercise with them if you want. This is Nuovo's Director of Social Impact, and he was a champion hurdler for USC, so he had to take his run at the penguin. We thought that was pretty cool to catch on film. So we also have them show up during construction. It just adds a little whimsy to the process. There seems to have been a lot of playfulness with this design team. We've had some interesting things to integrate into the design. This is the old gymnasium with the running track, which we have, retained and restored, and it will turn into the grand ballroom for the hotel. The basketball courts in the hotel are now going to be the junior ballroom. The flooring in here has been restored, and now, even though the flooring is black, you see the shadow lines of the basketball court. We've restored the wood flooring in the racquetball courts, which are now 2-story guest room suites. We've taken all of the marble flooring and reconditioned it that's in the lobby and the second floor public spaces. That you'll see too. In the pre-function space, we've taken the coffers that were somewhat damaged and hidden above acoustical ceiling tile and restored those with silicone casts and poured new plaster, and that will bring new life to the second floor of the space. We did that years back when We worked on the Chicago Athletic Association, as some of you may be familiar with, and we literally took acoustical ceiling tile down and found these beautiful stalactite plaster forms that were just hidden for years, and we didn't even know they still existed. So, you know, again, with historic projects, you kind of have to pivot, think through what you're doing, and in that case, we set up a plaster shop right in the middle of the ballroom and cast a whole new plaster ceiling and put it in place so that people can enjoy that today. So you know, it's one of the fun things, again, about historic and adaptive reuse. So the other thing that has been quite interesting for us is the swimming pool in the space. Again, they were swimming in this pool until the YMCA closed in 2016. It's been a huge challenge for us to now bring it up to code, to add the additional infrastructure. We're putting hot tubs in there and integrating a spa. So that was a labor of love, still is. All of those tiles, they've been painstakingly removed. We've restored them. We've had to replicate them so that we can then reintroduce this swimming pool area as part of the spa. So this will be the first ever athletic and swim club in a 21C hotel, and it's a nice homage to the legacy of the YMCA. So Heather said to me the other day, don't forget to tell them I want a penguin on a paddleboard in the middle of that pool for opening. I said, okay. So she's working on that. We'll see how that goes. If not there, he'll be playing pool. This is a snapshot of the original billiards room and then the restoration of that space. So, and then last but not least, I'll give you a quick shot of the guest room space. We carried the art into the guest rooms. The art was done by a local art professor in St. Louis, which is also a great story. It's fun to continue that all the way through. So, you know, Nuovo's hoping that you'll be able to show up and investigate it and walk through, see what you can find. You may see a Y, an M, or a C, or an A from the sign that was on top of the building, you know, tucked away in the hotel somewhere. It will provide 135 jobs when it opens that are new to the community. It's going to bring a new energy to that neighborhood. It's going to provide a new living room for the neighborhood and the community. And this keystone, you know, I thought was a great thing to add to the end of the presentation, because it's, you know, the quote in here is, the hope of the future lies in the youth of today. And that in and of itself, it truly just reinforces the responsibility that Nuovo feels to the community and to the newest hotel in the portfolio. So with that, we've been honored to be part of this journey, and I'm happy to present this to you today. So thank you.